I sold my MacBook M3 Pro, and the reason I sold it would be maybe surprising for you all, but I was actually looking to buy a studio to replace my M4 Mac Mini. Now you might have heard that M4 Mac Mini is one of the best PC out there, or one of the best system out there for anyone who's doing light video editing and a lot of other things, right? But I believe if ever I was still in my first month or first year of editing, it would have sufficed. Like, it's really fast. But the deal I got with my Mac Studio swap is I actually sort of got back whatever I paid for my M3 Pro. I bought it for I think around 2,400, and I got it a swap deal with M2 Max Studio with $500 my way. So eventually, like, this one's around 1,900 to me, which I think is a good deal, because even if I want to sell it, I could sell it for similar price. And another reason I sort of bought it is it was a lot of clutter around my desk, just because this Mac Mini is so small, and I had to put in place like docks like this one and this one, just to make sure that I have all my peripherals plugged in, because what I'm using on my desk is more to do with like these lights, connection to my camera, connection to a lot of other things which are still using USB-A, which means I have to use a dock, because Mac Mini doesn't have any USB-A slots, whereas Mac Studio got a couple of USB-A slots and a lot of USB-C or Thunderbolt. I understand Mac Studio M2 Max is not good enough, because I think the interface that they're using is Thunderbolt 4, not 5, which makes the speed of the I think slow, which means it'll support less devices and whatnot. But given that I got it for almost double the price of what I paid for my Mac Mini, but since I'm not using the MacBook Pro that much, like, I was using it for editing and it was doing a fantastic job compared to my Mac Mini. But whenever I came to the desk with these two screen setups, right, I was not able to actually use it to the way I want to use it, because then either I had to unplug one of these screens and use my Mac to edit, or I was using my Mac screen to edit. But since I have a setup now, I'd rather edit or do all the things which I need to do on a decently powered machine. And in exchange, I actually saved or got back $500, which is, in my opinion, not a bad deal. I understand I'm losing on the portability aspect and other things that came with the MacBook Pro, and trust me, it was in excellent condition. Like, the guy who I gave it to wasn't too keen on paying $500, but this is what I literally told him. I'm more than happy for us to meet, and I'm sure and I can assure that you won't be disappointed by the quality of my MacBook. And sure enough, as soon as he saw my MacBook, he's like, yeah, good to go. And I just checked a couple of things, because I wouldn't say I'm a pro at buying stuff from used market or Facebook Marketplace. It's a very dodgy place when you are in sort of a bad luck. I've had my fair share of, I think, fraud activities there, but when you're doing it, I think, for long enough, you would know the telltale signs of what could be fraud or not. And this one seemed genuine, so I checked all the things which I usually check, like, you know, how old is the account, what else he's selling, what else he's sold, and other things like that. And he was willing to do things which a normal genuine guy would, like, you know, create a video and send me the serial number in the video, and I just checked the serial number with I think when we met, and that was enough for me to convince that the device would be good enough. But again, I wouldn't recommend anyone who's not comfortable putting the money as well as the safety at risk for Facebook Marketplace deals. But for me, it's been a decent change, because I believe I would not have been able to sell my MacBook for $2,500. Like, even if I consider this to be a $2,000 worth thing, which I'm sure I would be able to get if I hold it long enough. But saying that, my main reason for buying it is to be able to clean this mess around, as well as just have one machine which is powerful enough to do all the renders and do all the editing stuff. As well as there's another reason for me actually getting rid of the MacBook, because when I was using my MacBook, I actually picked up a what do you call them? iPad Air. Not Air, iPad Pro 11-inch. It looks like Air because it's very light, but it's iPad 11, iPad Pro 11-inch with a keyboard and everything, including a pen. So the reason I sold my MacBook, another one, is first because I saved some money and got some money back. I could buy the M4 Pro if I want, but I wouldn't. Is to actually use my iPad, because if I want to do anything which is portable, even editing videos on iPad is quite good now. Like, you can easily get half of the stuff done, and before you do any sort of graphics or anything like that, you can move your project to a bigger machine and you can edit that way. But if I was going to do that, why not do it on a iPad rather than having a MacBook for that? So that's another reason. And since I was getting a swap deal, but I didn't have to think about selling and then trying to buy a new one or try to find a good deal, I thought might as well get rid of my MacBook, my Mac Mini M4, just replace it with one machine and then see if I can make it work. Otherwise, what I would do next is maybe pick up a MacBook Air for my, like, wherever I need the portability, maybe the 15-inch, because that will give me a bigger screen to work with. I can edit most of my stuff on that if needed. I don't need a Pro for that because I would have a Pro device here where I can connect to two screens, and I'll use that device just as a portable device. I wouldn't want to plug that into these ones, right? So yeah, that was my thought process. I thought I'll just share the story with you and see what you think. Would you have done that swap where you get a M2 Max, 32 gigs I think RAM, and 512 is the config of the SSD, and the M3 Pro I had 18 gigs of RAM. It was, I think, 11 core CPU and 14 core GPU version, and 512 gigs of memory. It was great. It was working fine. But just the fact that to connect it to my screens, I was having sort of trouble maneuvering through whatnot, like cables and everything else. So I thought I could have just gone the route of getting a bigger, I think, hub, but then it beats the point of keeping everything like downsized. So I thought, let me give it a try. Let me just get rid of anything and everything that I can live without. And my MacBook was the first thing to go.